Too bad it can't stay like that all the time.
Nothing gold can stay.
Huh?
Nature's first green is gold. Her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaves a flower. But only sowing out. Then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down today. Nothing gold can stay.
Where'd you learn that?
Oh, Johnny.
Oh, Pony Boy.
Oh, Pony Boy. Welcome back to our second official Zen Pop Parenting podcast.
Where Gen X pop culture meets real life reflection. So do you guys know what we're doing here? You didn't do the clapping, baby. There it is.
I didn't know when.
Oh, I didn't know that. We're still figuring out where the clapping goes.
That's
Maybe we
right.
should just clap a lot. But so what are we doing here? Mindful living and emotional awareness through the music, movies, and moments that shaped us.
That's right.
That's what we're here. And this one that we're doing today, it shaped us.
I was excited. I was very excited to do this podcast. And then you and I watched it on Friday night.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very excited to talk about my excitement.
Okay. So we watched what?
We watched The Outsiders, but it's a different version of it, and it's called Complete Novel. And they added 20 to 25 minutes. The final cut, according to Francis Ford Coppola, was around 2 hours, and then the studio's like, no, you got to cut 25 minutes out of it. So they did. So, but you and I watched the longer one.
I think, and we did, but that's irrelevant. If you haven't seen it, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about The Outsiders. So whatever movie version you saw is fine. But the thing is I think it's okay that they cut out that 20 minutes because I don't think what we got new really added. I actually think that, just to kind of jump in with a hot take right away, that they added a scene at the end where all three boys, like, remember Soda Pop runs away from the house, that really distracted from the end.
Totally.
So I was like, okay, I'm glad you cut that out. So I do know that Rob Lowe was kind of bummed because he had a lot more scenes, which we saw in this different cut, and most of them were cut. So he was pretty surprised that he wasn't in the movie.
Here's what I want to do, because you and I have been thinking about this for a week or so. I just want to remind people of who is in this movie.
So aren't we setting the scene?
Yeah, let's set the scene. Why don't we?
Set the scene, baby.
All right. So this is a movie that was made in 1983, or at least that's when it came out. The cast is kind of amazing. C. Thomas Howell's Pony Boy. Matt Dillon is Dallas Winston. Ralph Macchio is Johnny. Patrick Swayze plays Daryl. Rob Lowe is Soda Pop. Emilio Estevez is Two-Bit Matthews. Tom Cruise is Steve Randall. And then, let's see, Diane Lane is Cherry Valance. Leif Garrett is in it.
Leif.
And then a handful of people that you probably don't remember that well.
More like that, guys.
Yeah.
Like people you might know.
A lot of that guys. So yeah, that's who was in it. But I do want to create a little space to talk about my experience and your experience of the book and the movie.
Well, that's later. That's next. That's Remember When.
Oh, okay.
We're still in Set the Scene.
Okay,
you gotta stay with our topic here.
Staying.
So basically, at this point in time in Hollywood, there was kind of teen stuff was beginning. Okay, so like Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out, Porky's came out. So those were a little more like, very R-rated.
Yeah.
But also the movie Annie came out, Grease 2, one of my favorites.
Yikes.
Love Grease 2. And so The Outsiders was kind of like this. There was a lot of excitement about this movie coming out because it was emotional and it was going to be, if you guys know the story, if you've read the book, it's super gritty. And so many kids had read this book.
Yeah.
So in middle school, I read it in 7th grade. When did you read The Outsiders?
I have no idea, but probably sometime around when the movie came out, which was when I was in 5th or 6th grade.
And then the last thing was setting the scene, unless you have something else, is that this was, if you listened to last week when we talked about MTV and video Radio Killed the Radio Star. That launched in 1981, and this movie came out in 1983. So we were just like we were gravitating toward edgier kind of content, think the Police were big then, and Thriller was coming out, and David Bowie, like everything was becoming a little more edgy. So now all these kids who had been reading this book in school now get to see this movie, as Todd said, with huge stars that we're going to get in deeper into all of these characters and all these actors and actresses, but that's kind of the basics of
A few movies that were dominating the box office in 1983. You've already mentioned a few of them: Return of the Jedi,
Yes.
Flashdance, and War Games, just to kind of bring everybody back.
So that's where we were in youth culture in 1983.
And now we're gonna.
I remember when you couldn't wait.
Sweetie, what do you remember when, as far as this movie goes? I have a few important things to share.
I will say I'm going to kind of jump into the middle of what I remember, which was, so these guys who were in this movie, all the guys that you just named, they were on the cover of Tiger Beat, Teen Beat, 17, YM, Teen, Dynamite, Bop. There's one more, but all these magazines that were like huge at the time that I used to buy. I'd go to Lehan Drugs and buy all these magazines, right? And then in the middle of these magazines were
The centerfold.
The centerfold, right? So not necessarily in YM and 17, they didn't have it, but in the Teen Beat and the Tiger Beat. But every page had a picture of one of these guys. And so my bedroom was covered in posters of these boys.
I was just kidding. Did they really have a centerfold, like where it was like a 3-pager?
Of course.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so sometimes it was one person, sometimes it was like a group of people. And, but throughout the magazine, there would be an 8x10. So it would at least be one full page. And then the centerfold, the one that you could get out, was just bigger.
Yeah.
And my whole bedroom was covered with these boys. So for me specifically, and for you, just being a year younger, it's a huge coming of age movie for us too, because it was like, these were the first guys. I mean, I liked Sean Cassidy in elementary school and Andy Gibb and a few other people, but 7th grade was when I was like, I like these boys.
So out of these boys, young men, who did you have the biggest crush on?
Well, because of the movie, there was a lot of C. Thomas Howell, because he was the protagonist, right? It was the person that we are made
Book is
to
about
love.
him. He's the narrator.
Yes, I can tell you, I could probably go through the people that I didn't like as much.
Okay, go ahead.
Johnny was rough for me because of the kind of character he played in it, where I was kind of like, he seemed sad and he didn't, like there was just the character.
He's
of
always
Johnny
looking
Cage.
down.
Correct. I also was afraid of Matt Dillon's character. I was afraid of Dally, meaning he felt so much older to me. I would say that Rob Lowe, for sure, he played Soda Pop, was the most attractive.
Yeah. Tom Cruise didn't start getting better looking until he became more of an adult.
Yeah, we kind of learned that Tom Cruise was in Risky Business this same year, which is crazy to me. But I was not attracted to Two Bit or Steve, and definitely Patrick Swayze seems so much older because that's Pony's
He was,
older
I think,
brother.
29 when Patrick Swayze was
in this
acting
movie.
in this movie.
So I think Ponyboy was probably my guy.
Really, and just a quick pause on names of these characters. Essie Hinton, she wrote this book when she was 16.
Yeah.
But these are the names: Ponyboy Curtis, Dallas Winston, Johnny Cade, Daryl Curtis, Soda Pop Curtis, Two-Bit Matthews. Those are great names.
Well, and I think, now you tell me, those of you who have read the book recently, tell me if I'm correct, but while Ponyboy and Soda Pop and Daryl, those were their real names, but I think Two-Bit is a nickname.
I don't know.
I don't think all of them, because then there's Steve.
Yeah.
And that not everybody had
She
it.
doesn't go crazy on all of them, just a lot of them.
And Johnny. And Dallas is a great name.
Yeah, and they called him Dally.
Yeah.
Dallas Winston. And I always thought it was interesting. It was Daryl and Dally, and I remember getting confused in the book. Like, okay, which one are we talking about here?
Totally. So Derry is Patrick Swayze. Dally is Matt Dillon. Now, I will tell you this. Like, I know we're still in Remember When, but I will just add really quickly that watching it again, Matt Dillon, sorry.
Got it.
Like, for sure.
Yeah.
He's the most now, not the way he treats Cherry necessarily.
No, we're just talking crush.
But he's the most attractive guy in that movie to me.
Interesting.
To me.
I figured you'd say soda pop.
Soda pop.
That's almost too
it's
easy.
kind of a toss up. It's just about, again, not Dolly's behavior, but it's just now looking at it from being an older person.
Yeah.
It's like he's just a beautiful Matt Dillon. My goodness, jeez Louise, all these guys. Okay, so you ready?
Yeah. Can I start my quick story on this book?
So this is still. Are
This
you
is
still
still
remembering
remember
what? Okay, so you.
So
might wanna
here's
play
my
that again.
memories of this book. Oh, should I?
Just so we know where we are. We gotta remember when.
I remember when I saw this movie with my buddies, and then I told them that I liked the book better, and they made so much fun of me.
Sounds
They're like,
familiar.
What was in the book that wasn't in the movie?" And then they started being like, "Yeah, but you can't read about the Rumble. You gotta see the Rumble because the Rumble is so cool." And I'm gonna stand firm. Like, the book was better than the movie, and we'll talk about the movie for the next hour or so. But that was my one thing. And then my other thing is when I was in 6th grade, I was in football, and I hurt my leg going up against IC in the championship game,
IC is
Immaculate Conception. And I had to come out, and my dad ended up carrying me to the car because I hurt my knee so bad. And one of my football teammates said, "We got to do it for Todd," kind of like we're doing it for Johnny.
Okay.
And then my friend Dan was making fun of my friend Tom who said that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite the same since Johnny saved children and got burned and then died.
It was a very cheesy line for him to say that they had to do it for me because I was being carried out the field.
Yeah.
And my last memory is I feel like this was like my first book I read for fun.
You didn't have to read it for school?
I don't think so.
Oh, I had to read it for school.
And do kids have to read it for school still?
Yeah, that's why still, good question. I know that my girls have read the book, but I don't know if that's true in every curriculum.
Yeah.
I don't know where The Outsiders lands these days, but for us, we definitely had to. And I'll add something to that, but I think it falls under random facts.
Before we go to random facts,
Okay.
I just want to say, can you think of any ensemble casts that is superior to this movie? Because I did a little research and I have a few.
Well, yeah, I think that this movie was the Avengers of its time. You know what I mean? Like, this was an 80s version of Avengers. You have all these actors that you know, and they're all coming together, and they all have their own stories, or you've seen them in other things, and then all of a sudden they are in this amazing ensemble. So I think the Avengers has that kind of cast.
Good answer.
Do you want me to come up with more?
You come up with one more, and then I'll give you my list.
Let me see if I can come up with more, because some of them are like spread out, like the Star Wars world.
Yeah, all in one movie.
Yeah, all in one movie. I'm looking around my office because
You got a lot of movies.
I got a lot of movie posters, and I want to see like The Breakfast Club, but some of these guys are in the Brat Pack.
And there's only 4 of them.
Okay, tell me.
The Departed.
Okay, good one.
You got Leo. You got Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg, Marty Sheen, and Alec Baldwin.
That's really good.
Magnolia.
Yes, good one.
Tom Cruise, Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman, William H. Macy, and John C. Reilly.
So on that note, Boogie Nights, right?
Yeah. You got the Avengers. You already talked about that. Think about that. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Jeremy Renner. Ocean's 11.
Good one, yeah.
George
And Ocean's
Clooney,
8.
Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Julia Roberts, Don Cheadle, Andy Garcia. You talked about Ocean's 8. Who is in that? Who are the?
That's Anne Hathaway, Kate Blanchett. Let me think about some of the other. Is Mindy Kaling in that movie? Is that right? No. I can't remember, but there's 8 of them.
And then the last one is, we can't forget about Heat, sweetie. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, Ashley Judd, John Voight.
I don't know if Heat. I love Heat, and we love that movie, but I can't say that Tom Sizemore is like the same as, like seeing The Outsiders together.
It's really top heavy. Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer?
Val Kilmer. I feel like there's other famous people.
Well,
in
like
Heat.
you said, Ashley.
John Voight.
Oh, John. Yeah. Tone Loc.
What's an ensemble without Tone Loc?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?
This is our random facts. Random
Will you
facts.
play as we're going those more than once so
Sure.
people know where we are?
Do you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?
All right, what do you got for random
Okay,
facts?
so random fact, a librarian made this movie happen.
How's-
That's what I wanted to,
how's
big one
that?
I wanted to share. So a group of middle school students in Fresno, California wrote a letter to Francis Ford Coppola asking him to turn their favorite book into a film, and their librarian, Joe Ellen Misakian, sent the book along with their petition. So basically kids were reading this book and they're like, we want to see this on screen, and they made it happen. And this is not just a random fact that we heard about. They say that at the end of the movie.
Jared, do you know the human head weighs
It's my turn. There was a TV series based on the characters of this novel in 1990. Did you remember it? Did you know that?
1990, who was in it?
It doesn't say who's in it, but it consisted of different casts playing the same characters. It picks up right after the events of the film's ending and only lasted one season.
I do not remember that.
All right, your turn.
Okay, so this is kind of a little switch. I'm going to go back to S.E. Hinton. Let's talk about women who used initials to avoid gender bias.
Yes.
Okay, because S.E. Hinton is a woman, if you didn't already know. And she wrote under these initials because she didn't want male reviewers to dismiss her book, right? She was very young, as Todd said, when she wrote it. We got J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter. You know, she's a little more controversial than she used to be. But her publisher told her to use initials to appeal to young male readers. I was going to say voters. P.L. Travers, who wrote Mary Poppins, that was a woman. Her name was Helen Goff. She used initials to not have her gender be known because the literary world was so male dominated. A woman named C.J. Cherry. She was a science fiction author. I don't know her work. I'm going to be honest. I'm just throwing it in there because I, found it as I was doing this research. And then this is a little different. This isn't initials, but Harper Lee.
Yeah, there you go.
To Kill a Mockingbird. Like that could have been male, even though she dropped her first name, which was Nell, because she didn't want to, she wanted to sidestep the gender bias. So that is interesting just to keep in mind. This is from a different time, but there are still people who write under either pseudonyms or initials because they don't want to deal with people saying, so many times when a woman writes a book, it's like, well, that's a woman's book. That's romantic fiction. They genre them to death. And if a man writes a book, it's just accepted as being normal. Now, that is a generalization. That's not always the case, but it is a trap that we can fall into in the literary world.
Can I go next?
You go.
Other people who auditioned for roles.
I have that too.
Timothy Hutton, Sean Penn, Mickey Rourke, Anthony Michael Hall, Scott Baio, and Dennis Quaid.
I had more. I had Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
That he auditioned for Dally. He was also offered Two-Bit. Oh, by the way, Two-Bit's real name is Keith.
Oh, there you
Keith
go.
Two-Bit Matthews. And you said Val Kilmer, Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke would have been a great Dally.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke, by the way, was just on Big Brother in the UK. And Jojo Siwa was in there too. And, but it was in the UK. It wasn't here. And he was awful. Like I saw all these clips.
Like a mean person?
Just really inappropriate and very like especially with her, like talking about her sexuality and that he could turn her into, being straight, and that he was just very inappropriate.
That's too bad.
I know. And it's one of those things where Mickey Rourke is one of those actors that you and I have grown up with, where he had some really good roles, like where he was in Diner, and obviously if you've 9.5 Weeks, Angel Heart, some of the roles were really gritty and dark. But then, things went not so great for him. But then he came back with The Wrestler, which was a really great movie. And it's like, oh, good, he's turning his life around. And then I haven't seen him for a while. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing these TikToks of him being kind of a jerk. It's sad. I know. I was sad about it. You already said Sean Penn, Scott Baio. Oh, and I read that Brooke Shields was offered Cherry. Did you read that?
No, I did not.
It said Brooke Shields was offered Cherry Valance, but dropped out to pursue another project. So anyway.
In the poster for the film, the greasers are laughing as Johnny is smirking. This candid shot was taken during the photo session where the actors were supposed to look tough at the camera. What happened was that when Leif Garrett went to the table, Ralph Macchio said, Hey, Leaf, that's for the talent. And the comment cracked up the cast and the photo was used.
That's a great photo. I wish this was more visual because we could show them the photo. Hey, speaking of, do you want to like give an overview of what this story is about? Like, I feel like we haven't, I have it.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I kind of feel like for those of you who are like, I don't remember what the plot of The Outsiders is. It's 1960s, small, unnamed American town. It's divided by class, image, opportunity. There's a lot of tension in the town. You can feel the lines drawn between the greasers and the socias. Socias stands for the socials, but they just shortened it to
Southside Soch.
Yes. So the greasers are kids from the working class side of town. They have long hair, leather jackets, etc. Their defenses are pretty high. They stick together like family because they don't really have anything else. And then on the other side are the socias. They're well dressed. They have money, privilege. They get away with everything. The air is very thick with misunderstanding and anger and a desperate need to belong. But the protagonist, or the heart of the story, is Ponyboy Curtis. He's a more thoughtful greaser. He reads poetry, watches sunsets, as you guys listened to at the beginning of this podcast. And he knows he has a bigger picture for what's going on. And you know what? So does Johnny. Like Johnny, spoiler, Johnny dies, but Johnny is very aware that this should not all be happening, all this violence on the street.
So yeah, I feel like we should be, it doesn't happen over that many days. So day one is you get to meet the characters, and then somehow they go to the movies. And Dally is kind of mean to the girls.
To Cherry. And her friend.
And then on the way home from the movie, the socias get there and there's almost a standoff between the two of them. But then Cherry kind of...
Well, the Ponyboy and
Johnny
are at the movie sitting behind Cherry and her friend. And then when Dally's being a jerk to Cherry, they say, Dally, stop it. And he leaves. So they kind of end up walking them home, which is where Cherry and Ponyboy start having deeper conversations. Now, question, I don't know if we should do this under random facts, but did you think that Cherry had any interest in Ponyboy?
Romantically?
Yes.
No.
Okay. You didn't.
No, I did not. She liked Dally.
But which is strange.
Why? The girls like the bad boy.
I guess that's what's being written in there, but he was such a jerk to her.
So then later that night, Johnny tries to go home. His parents have no interest in welcoming him home, so that he decides to sleep outside. So they fall asleep, and then do the socials come right then and there?
Are you ready for my hot take?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so we're going to do WTF moment in a second, but here's my hottest take. Are you ready? You got a sound effect for a hot take?
I don't think I do.
We need some fire or something.
Yeah, okay.
Find something for me. Make the sound. Okay. The hot take is all of this is Ponyboy's fault.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Here's why. He and Johnny are walking together. They're walking home. They are outside, sleeping outside. Okay. They fall asleep. Ponyboy wakes up, realizes he needs to get home because he and Derry are not getting along very well. And he's like, I got to get home. Right then he's like, Johnny's like, I'm not going home. I'm going to sleep out here. Have Johnny come home with you.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I think he says something later, like if you don't have anywhere to go, come. But say, Johnny, come with me right now.
Yep.
Okay. He doesn't do that. First Ponyboy mistake. He gets home. Derry freaks out because he didn't know where Ponyboy was. He can't call the police or else Derry's going to get in trouble, and he's afraid that Soda Pop and Pony will end up in like a boys' home. So he's like, there's nothing I can do about it. He ends up hitting Ponyboy, which to me looks more like a push in the movie, but
it wasn't too bad, but yeah.
But anyway, Ponyboy is so upset. He runs back to where Johnny's sleeping, wakes him up, and says, let's go to the park.
Yeah.
Let's go walk. So they walk to the park when they have been told, now this is a deleted scene, but in the book we know, they have been told, quit walking alone, guys.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, there's trouble out there.
Because Johnny, about like a couple weeks before, had been jumped by a bunch of socias who had rings, which we find out that was Leif Garrett. And he had been hit, he had like a cut on his face. He had already gotten beat up. So the older guys are like, guys, quit walking alone. So Soda Pop's like, let's go to the park. Well, guess what? The socias show up and they're not only drunk.
Soda Pop didn't say that. Ponyboy said that. You said Soda Pop. Ponyboy said, let's go to the park.
Oh, sorry. Ponyboy said, let's go to the park. Soda Pop isn't even part of this.
No.
So Ponyboy and Johnny end up at the park. Socias show up. They're drunk and they're pissed that Pony and Johnny had walk Cherry home.
Yeah.
So it's just a loaded gun, for lack of a better way of saying it. And that was Pony's fault too.
Yeah.
Going there. Okay.
What wasn't Pony's fault is him almost getting drowned. So Johnny,
Correct.
So the socios are trying to drown Pony Boy. Johnny stabs Bob, kills him.
Yes.
They go ask Dally for help. Dally says, go to this church. So they hang out at this church for a few days. Pony Boy bleaches his hair blonde. Johnny takes all the grease out of his hair. And then they go eat because they've been eating bologna sandwiches all week. When they get back, there's a fire. Pony Boy and Johnny and Dallas get to the fire.
Number 3 reason this is all Pony Boy's fault. Now, I understand in the big picture, you want to save kids and do the right thing. He's the one who runs into that church.
Is he first?
Yes.
First one in?
Pony runs in first.
Okay.
And Johnny's like, wait, what are you doing? And then runs after him. Then Dally comes third.
Yeah.
So those are 3 times when if Pony had made a different decision,
Yeah.
Johnny might still be here. Sorry for all the Pony Boy people, C. Thomas Howell fans.
Yeah.
It's just something I noticed this time.
Johnny's in the hospital. They're viewed as heroes. There's a rumble. The greasers beat the socias. Johnny dies. His last words to Pony Boy are, stay gold, Pony Boy, stay gold. Dally's devastated, robs a store, gets shot, dies. And then there's a little bit of, I don't know, closing the loop.
So I feel like I have another hot take, but do we want to get into it later? Just remind me, because I want to talk a little bit about Dally and Johnny. Okay. So let's do the next. Are we still on WTFs?
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's anything particularly that good. During filming, Rob Lowe asked S.E. Hinton what happens to Soda Pop. Hinton responded that Soda Pop was drafted to Vietnam and died there.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Oh boy. You already said that one. Tom Cruise. Can we talk about Tom Cruise standing back? His backflip he keeps doing.
We got to go to WTF.
Okay.
You're still in random facts.
Okay. I didn't know that's where you put it, sweetie.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
It did, didn't it? What do you got for the WTF moments?
Well, now talk about Tom Cruise.
Which part? His whatever backflips.
WTF, Tom Cruise.
In a scene where the boys are in the street getting excited about the rumble, Tom Cruise does a standing back tuck from the top of the truck. Patrick Swayze coached him beforehand on how to do it. Right before filming the scene, Cruise nervously approached writer S.E. Hinton and said he was afraid. First of all, when has Tom Cruise ever been afraid of anything?
Maybe then.
He would be unable to do it because he felt nauseous from overeating at lunch. Hinton asked him if he thought he would feel better if he threw up. Tom Cruise said he thought so. So Hinton took him back to the food truck and made him drink raw eggs. There's no way this is true.
Okay, I got none of that.
There's no way that's true.
That's WTF times 10.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But we never see Tom Cruise land the backflip, and I think he does it twice, doesn't he?
Well, one was a deleted scene.
Okay.
At the very beginning, he does the backflip. He actually falls.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like showing that he's practicing.
Yeah.
And then as they're coming out to do the rumble, 2 people do gymnastics kind of things. One is Patrick Swayze, which because we know he's a dancer. And he does this whole like handstand on the fence.
Right.
And then Tom Cruise does the backflip and you do not see him land it.
Yeah.
Which again is very Tom Cruise. This was way before Scientology. This was before his huge he hadn't even Risky Business hadn't even come out yet. So this was way before, but it kind of sets a stage for him, being in The Color of Money and learning pool and flying planes and Top Gun and driving cars and Days of Thunder and doing all of his stunts for Mission Impossible. Like he always takes it up a notch.
Yeah.
But I also laugh because a movie that I watch a lot if I just need something in the background is the movie The Firm.
Yeah.
And The Firm is also a book, a John Grisham book, and Tom Cruise is in it. And there's a scene in The Firm that it's not even, I don't even know why they put it in here. Like where Tom Cruise is walking down the street with his wife. He's just moving to Nashville for this new law job and to be a lawyer in this firm. And this kid does this backflip. And so all of a sudden Tom Cruise joins him and does a backflip with him. And the lore or the history is that he actually, for that scene, learned how to do that backflip, and it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Except for later when everything kind of falls to crap and realizes he's in a lot of trouble. He's on the same street and the kid does a backflip and Tom Cruise doesn't join him. But I think there's a million ways to demonstrate you're sad.
Tom Cruise wanting to
do a
show
backflip.
off a little bit.
Yeah. So it's very WTF.
What else do you have, WTF?
So you kind of already said it, but it's still WTF, which is the fact that Ponyboy bleaches his hair and Johnny doesn't.
Yeah.
So WTF.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Does Johnny look that different?
Yeah, they both got and then they cut their hair sort of, but it's
kinda
the disguise isn't really doing much. Especially they're not leaving the church anyways.
I know. That's the thing. I think the only time they went out was to get the food.
Yeah.
And that was Johnny before he cut his hair.
Right.
Like they cut their hair when they came back. So like Johnny's like, come on, Pony, you're going to have to bleach your hair. I'm going to take the grease out of my hair.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you get to keep your hair color? And he doesn't. So another WTF is that the cast, as you probably read this, while filming, they were divided up into different living quarters. So all the socias.
No interaction between the two groups.
And they lived better
than
the greasers did. So they were trying to create that sense of animosity on the set. So Zen Parenting.
And this is the middle of the show where we talk a little bit about the deeper aspects of it and the parental guidance aspect of it. And what did this movie teach us? So let's start with...
Let's roll in the deep for a little bit.
What do you got for rolling in the deep, Speedy?
Okay, so obviously this is a movie and a book about class and identity, the division between the socias and the greasers, how we judge people based on appearance, background, wealth, how much of our identity is shaped by where we come from. So like my big question, Todd, how often do we let someone's background define how we see them? It's or how we see ourselves, like to get deeper, like it's such a theme of so many 80s movies. Like I'll think of two, like, The Breakfast Club. Obviously those people in The Breakfast Club, all those characters are literally divided up by their social status.
Yeah.
If it be, Molly Ringwald's wealth or the fact that Bender comes from nothing, and that this is part of their privilege. Also, do you remember the movie Some Kind of Wonderful?
Of course.
So Amanda Jones, who is, what's her name? Who plays her? She's from Back to the Future too.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name.
I know her daughter's name, and I don't. Zoe Deutsch is her daughter. Okay, look
Zoe
it up for
Deutsch's
me.
mom.
Zoe Deutsch's mom. Anyway, we know it. It's just we're having a brain fart. So anyway, Amanda Jones's character the whole thing is about how she lives on the other side of the tracks and she's dating this popular guy because it gives her social status. And then
Leah Thompson,
thank you. So, and the whole thing is then this other guy likes her, the Eric Stoltz character, and tells her to just be who she is, whatever. Social status, big in the 80s, big in every movie. Who are you and where you come from defines who you are. Pretty in Pink, for sure, right? She doesn't even want Blaine to pick her up at her house,
right? Because
she doesn't feel like she has the right house.
Blaine, his name is Blaine.
And then what next? What does he say?
Blaine isn't a name; it's an appliance.
It's an appliance.
Like that.
So this is so for us. Like, tell me. I'm going to go deep with you. We're rolling in the deep. You ready? How did you feel in high school? Like, what was your thoughts about social status? To kind of a privileged school.
I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago, so I wasn't in the suburbs. So I had the distinction of still living in the city.
Really being a city kid.
And some people are like, whenever I got to college, they're like, you don't live in the city. And actually I do. It's just there's some really kind of nicer parts of the city which I lived in. We were in the same conference as some other football teams, and they were in not that good of neighborhoods. So yeah, I think we were kind of the cake eaters. That's what they called us, the cake eaters.
Okay. See, this is the language I'm looking for.
But then we got to high school, and there were some kids from Rogers Park who really were a little bit, from a real estate
socioeconomic different.
They're in a different place. And then we were in the middle, and then there's some really super rich kids from the suburbs on the North Shore. So all of a sudden we went from the cake eaters to being like, the kids who weren't as abundant from a money standpoint as some of our classmates. So we were all over the place.
Yeah, where I grew up in DeKalb, and there was a north side and a south side. I wouldn't say it was like this huge contentious thing, it's not like it's the outsiders, but the north side was definitely more wealthy, and the south side was definitely more blue collar work. Both my parents were teachers, so I grew up over there, but we also had Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, so a lot of the professors' kids lived on the south or on the north side. My mom actually taught at a school on the north side, so she had taught at a middle school over there, and I went to the south side middle school. And my mom actually asked me if I wanted to go to the north side and go to middle school there because she was teaching there. She knew all the teachers. She felt like, that would be a good place for me to be. And I was like, absolutely not.
So you're staying with your peeps.
I am staying with my friends, and I am a South Sider. Like, there was a lot of that was my identity.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to be with my people that I had grown up with. And again, there was definitely more wealthy people on the north side. Like, that was very obvious in the neighborhoods, but it wasn't like, so everything's not so black and white. I mean, there was plenty of people who did just fine on the south side. It just happened to be where they lived,
Sure.
But there is definitely, I think any town you're from, even us being in Elmhurst right now, there are, certain parts of town like that. I remember when we moved here, I'm not even going to say what people said, but they were like, move to this area, move by this, move closer to downtown, that there are certain parts of any town that is more desirable, bigger homes,
Sure.
more wealthy. There are definitely opinions about what people perceive to be the best.
Mhm.
And some people want to stay in that. So, it's interesting because, so one of the things that comes up, I'm kind of switching gears into vulnerability, because one thing that you and I really noticed while watching this movie was how loving the greasers were toward each other. There was so much hugging
Yeah.
and so much like closeness.
Well, there's a spot where Soda Pop is like, because it's not like everybody has their own bedrooms. They share a bed.
Yeah, Soda Pop and Pony share, but they're brothers, by the way.
They're brothers. And Soda is like, Pony's looking the other way, and Soda just kind of does what I do with you, and I just kind of put my arm around you, and it's very sweet. And that happens throughout the movie.
Yeah.
More
Johnny
for
and
the
Pony.
more for the greasers, and you don't see that aspect of the socias, but a lot of physical touch, a lot of close intimacy amongst these friends. It's really kind of sweet, and I do not remember that.
I don't either. And I think we kept looking at each other like, wow, this is really intimate.
Yeah.
Like, these boys have there's so much hugging.
Yeah.
There's so much, closeness. And sometimes even when they're just messing with each other, they're just wrestling or whatever, but there's no lack of love.
Right.
And to the point of the description of greasers and the outsiders is they are family.
Sure.
And that's how they connect with each other, is on the fact that they have less.
Well, and I know we're probably getting to the parenting aspect of it, but do any of the greasers have a parent that we see on screen?
Not on screen. Yes, we see Johnny's mom in the hospital. She wants to see him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And he doesn't want to see her.
Yeah.
And obviously we hear them fighting. We know that Pony and Soda and Derry's parents died. Their
car
was
accident.
hit by a train.
Yeah.
Dally, he mentions his parents because Johnny's upset that his parents haven't asked about him. And
Yeah.
Dally's like, dude,
Yeah.
my parents could care less where I am.
We don't know about Steve or Two Bit.
We don't know
anything
about them.
All I know about Two Bit is one morning he's at the house and he's got a bottle of beer and a big chocolate
A
cake.
full chocolate cake.
And he's just watching cartoons.
But right before that, Steve is having some of the cake and he's disgusting.
Yeah.
He's like eating it with his hands and it's like all over his face. So another big part of this movie is the cycles of, conflict and violence. The whole idea of Ponyboy being a more sensitive and introspective kid, and Johnny as well, I put him in that category, is the uselessness of this violence. Like one of the most, important parts of the movie is Randy, who's a soc. His best friend was Bob, who was murdered.
Yeah.
And Randy comes to talk to Ponyboy, toward the end of the movie, and basically is like, we're going to have this big fight and we're going to beat each other up and it's absolutely useless. And he's like, and I can't tell my friends that because then they'll call me out and, say I'm weak.
He's not at the Rumble. Randy.
He doesn't show up.
No.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
Does he say I'm not going to?
I don't think so. I just noticed.
Do we know for sure he didn't show up?
Not positive, but I was looking for him and I didn't see him.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is about, we actually just did a couple weeks ago, 2, 3 weeks ago, did a podcast about empathy. The whole thing was about the importance of empathy. And this is what this movie is about, is that Ponyboy begins to see socias as individuals. They're not enemies, that we're reminded of our own capacity to grow in our empathy for each other and understanding. Because, Cherry has this whole speech where she's like, oh, you think we have it all, Southside socias, that we, are they Southside socias?
Yeah.
Okay. That we have it all, but we don't, Pony, we have hard times too. And you're kind of like eye roll, but she's right. Like their lives are not so great. Just like when we watch The Breakfast Club, we think Andy's so lucky because he's a great wrestler and everybody loves him. But the truth is, his dad's hard on him. Or, we see Molly Ringwald's character, and the truth is her parents don't teach her how to stand up for herself and her own values. So it's like everybody's got something that's a struggle. It's just this socioeconomic line where we view people as either being worthy or not.
I got a little clip from Cherry and Ponyboy at the drive-in where
Let's
they're
hear it.
talking a little bit about it.
Not all of us are like that.
Sure.
That's like saying all you greasers are like Dallas Winston.
Come on, you know what you're gonna do about it. Let's take it outside. That's
All right, you two, why don't you both take it outside? Come on.
But he's jumped a few people. Anyway, you think the Socs have it made? The rich kids. The South Side Socs. Well, I'll tell you something, Ponyboy, and it might come as a surprise, but things are rough all over.
Everybody's got it rough. Just some people got a little more rough than other people.
Exactly. And it depends on what you value. There is this belief from people who have less, and this totally makes sense. Like, this is not a crazy thought, is that if I had money, everything would be easy. And it always takes the experience of having access to wealth where you realize that wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
That you really don't feel any different internally. You may be able to pay your bills and take some stress off the table, make sure you feed everybody. Like, there's a reality to having enough money to take care of your family. But there is this point, and we've brought up this stat a million times, I think, about there's only, like, your happiness only goes up so much based on money. And it only goes up, like, if you make enough money where you are middle class, or, does that even exist anymore? But, where you actually can pay the bills and, take care of your family. And then after that, the increases in the amount of money you have actually don't increase your happiness.
Right.
There is a threshold. So we have a false belief, and it definitely cycles in this community. It's very obvious. And the most important thing, as far as rolling in the deep, is the fact that Ponyboy and Johnny, and a little bit of everybody else, Dairy, soda for sure, is that they do have sensitivity. They do want connection. They do feel depth and a creativity, and they definitely recognize that in Pony, who is really smart and can recite poems and can write well. He has introspection, and
So if I were going to ask you who evolves the most in this movie, or who transforms for better and who doesn't transform at all, what would you say?
Well, Steve doesn't have enough character development.
Yeah, kind of an afterthought.
I would say a few. I'd say Derry evolves a lot.
Yeah.
I think Derry, at the beginning of the movie, you're made to believe that he's awful to Pony, and that what you kind of learn about him, there's a quick clip that 2-Bit says, Derry would be a Soc if it wasn't for us, because he was an excellent athlete and he was well respected by the guys who were on the football team.
And he would have money if he wasn't taking care of his 2 little brothers.
Correct. He would have broken out, but he had to take care of his brothers. As Todd said, as we were watching, this is a little Party of 5 action. If you ever watch Party of 5, he had to stay and he was not able to evolve. I think that, interestingly, Dally he devolves. He devolves. And, we kind of wanted to save this part for the show. I don't think they allowed us to see enough of Dallas and Johnny's relationship.
Yeah,
because
right.
Dally is devastated.
And very protective over Johnny the whole time, even though he does get mad at Johnny at the drive-in because Johnny stands up to him.
And maybe he respects that.
Yeah.
Like Johnny speaking up to Dallas, leave Cherry alone.
Yeah.
But Dally, like when Johnny dies, Dally loses it.
Yeah.
And he's already been in prison, this guy. Like he's gone through it. Like, so what is the Johnny? I felt like they needed one more scene to like show us their connection. Because he like gets a gun, he robs a yeah.
What'd you say?
Come on, you heard me. Leave it alone.
What'd you say, you little shit? What'd you say to me?
Come on.
Why is this?
Oh, Dally. It's Dally.
You ready for parenting? Or you still got more?
No. Let's go over here.
Be like you. And the cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man on the phone. When you're coming home, Dad.
So this is the parental guidance aspect of the show. Not a lot of parental guidance going on. Derry is kind of a pseudo parenting figure to Soda Pop and Pony and the rest of the greasers, right?
For sure. He's like their leader.
He's kind of the father figure. Works hard. He's a roofer. But Johnny's parents are awful. We never see Dally or Steve's or Two Bit's parents.
But I like your point that Derry and Dally are the parents.
Well, I think Dally's he's just a pain in the ass.
Well,
but he's somebody that you want if you ever get into a rumble.
Who do Pony and Johnny go find when they get in trouble?
Right, that's true.
He's a parent
Yeah,
figure.
that's true, because he tells them to go to the church and
Correct.
has a plan, go to the go get all the bologna sandwiches that you can buy and don't stick your head out and all that. So yeah, he's a man with the plan at that time.
He is, and Derry is like the good, and I'm putting this in air quotes, the good parent who's like, I'm going to have a job and make sure I make you breakfast. And Dally is the one who's like, I'm going to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And we can debate if he's really keeping them safe. But Dally, there's a great scene where when he finally goes to the church to get them and they find out through a letter that Soda Pop wrote. Do you remember the letter?
What did it say?
The letter. So Soda Pop or Dally gives this letter to Ponyboy that Soda Pop wrote him. And he's like, Soda's like, I want you to turn yourself in. Are you okay? I'm so worried about you. Love, Soda Pop Curtis. Like he says his last name.
Yeah.
That'd be like you writing a letter to your brother and saying Todd Adams.
Yeah.
But anyway, we find out from the letter also that Dally had been pulled in to the police station and that he had been questioned, and he took that heat.
And he just got out of jail at the beginning of the
Correct.
movie. So he's had some fractures with the law.
And the fact that he was willing to take that heat for them, he's like, they just questioned me. And he goes, I told them you guys were on your way to Texas.
Yeah.
So, but let's take a different approach as far as parenting goes. Like, I feel like these movies are opportunities for conversation with our kids, right? This is like a great movie that discusses everything that, can go wrong in childhood, right? The difference in socioeconomic, different sides of town, not, cycles of violence, not understanding each other, lack of communication, believing, things about people that you haven't even met yet. Like it really brings up a lot of good conversation. And I think we kind of already did this in Rolling in the Deep, but like, who were you as a kid and who did you feel like? And to ask
Who did I identify with?
You don't have to answer that because I think you can if you want, but this is a conversation we can have with our kids. When you watch this movie, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Who do you feel like?
I think that I just probably fall in line like most kids. Like some kids probably see themselves as Dallas because he's cool and he's tough. But
Sure.
I saw myself as the more introspective pony boy.
Yeah. And I think that's who, and again, I'm going to talk about gender for a second. This movie only has one girl. Or
don't forget about Marcia, sweet.
Marcia's her friend who I noticed.
Don't forget about Johnny's mom.
Johnny's mom. And Essie Hinton is one of the nurses.
Yes, she is.
Plays a nurse. But so I was identifying more like through their experience, as all girls and women had to do before girls and women were leads of movies, which has only come in the last decade or so. But we didn't have like I felt connected to Ponyboy.
There's nobody in this movie for you as a female.
No, I mean Cherry, I guess, but
she's an afterthought.
First of all, and let's talk about Cherry for a second. Something that was so confusing to me is Cherry says to Ponyboy, if I don't talk to you at school, don't be bummed about that.
Yeah.
Okay. But then Cherry is their
breakfast-
snitch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she'll go behind their backs to help them, but she doesn't want to let her image get impacted.
But she also spoke up now this was a deleted scene, but the deleted scene we watch is they actually show the court case where Ponyboy is on trial.
That's right. Well, that's once Johnny dies, she's going to start doing some different things throughout the timeline of the movie.
But that's the thing, Todd. It doesn't work out in the way they did it because Cherry takes the stand and says, yes, Bob was drunk.
Oh.
And then the next scene is when they're at school and she doesn't talk to Ponyboy.
I thought the opposite. Yeah. So it's a little breakfast clubby. It's a little Pretty in Pinky.
Yeah, like I can't talk to you because you're from a different group or whatever, which I always question. My high school was smaller, so maybe it was different, but we didn't really do that. Like, I'm not saying that there weren't groups or cliques, but it's not like I can't be seen with this person.
Yeah,
right. You grew up with these
people. I think Hollywood, it turns up the volume on the actuality of how it usually sits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one other parenting question, or maybe two others. Empathy. This movie is about empathy. So how do you feel, Todd Adams, parent, father of 3 daughters, that you have taught empathy? Like, how do you think you've demonstrated empathy to your kids? I mean, it could be, as you're thinking, it could be in the ways that we offer them books and say, I want you to read about this character. It could be in our own experience and how we show up. It could be what we point to when we're talking about what we value.
Yeah. I mean, first thing that comes to me is, do I model it?
Yeah.
Can I see it from their point of view? And there's times when I can't at all, and there's other times when I can. So I always, default to, am I modeling empathy with you, with my friends, with my daughters? Because my kids are going to be more likely to be empathic if they can see me do it. But that's as much as I got.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And sometimes when the girls were little, we were really literal about it. Like if we would find a spider in the house, this was kind of natural to me anyway. It wasn't like I was pretending.
Yeah.
But we would have the girls help us get that spider in a cup and get him out of the house, or a stink bug. Like we were trying to be like, let's treat nature with some respect. Like let's, if ever the girls and I are together and we drive by an animal on the side of the road that has been killed, we do like kiss our fingers and like, kind of send it good love and, like to see living things as living things.
Yeah.
To take care of, to be kind to animals outside, to feed the birds. You can teach empathy through obviously how we are with human beings. That's the most important, but you can demonstrate it in other ways too.
Are we ready for the what did it teach us?
Let's go, baby.
All right. A few things that I think that this movie teaches us.
Yes.
Outsiders. We're a lot more alike than we are different.
Absolutely.
Leadership doesn't have to be loud.
And who are you referring to there?
Johnny. He's a quiet leader.
Okay, see, he's like kind of the heart of this movie.
He's the
isn't
heart
he?
of it.
Even I debate between he and Pony, like who's more of the heart.
Well, Johnny defends Pony. For all we know, Pony could have died drowning in that fountain. And if it wasn't for Johnny, Ponyboy may have been dead. Johnny also goes back and helps the kids after I think they're kind of like he just doesn't get out of the church. So
he realizes there's more to do.
But he says at the end, it was worth it. Those kids are younger than me. I've had more trips around this planet, more years where the Earth has gone around the sun than these, 7, 8-year-old kids. So
doesn't that make you want to cry?
Yeah, he sacrificed
because he's
himself.
16. But he also says before that, he's like, there's so many times I've thought about dying, and he's wanted to because he's had such a rough life. And he goes, now that I'm in this shape, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
There's so many things I haven't done, but he's left in that room to think for hours. And anyway, it ends up, he's like, you know what? I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah. And Johnny also says, I think there's a quote in there that says, there's a lot of good in this world. Tell Dally. And Johnny,
Dally's dead.
Dally's dead. And Johnny didn't see a lot of good. He got his ass kicked by the socias. His parents had no interest in him. He's in a hospital, and yet he's saying there's a lot of good in this world.
Well, here's the deep thing about our experiences in life. And you and I were just talking about this in the car. We were, talking about being concerned about something that our daughter was going through. And I was like, it's all perspective because our children can be going through something, or we can be going through something. And that can be a real thing. And we have to make sure that we, empathize and support and give credit to, or deal with that issue. But we also have to look around and recognize what's working.
Yep.
We have to keep focusing on, but we have these connections. We have this house with a roof. We have food. We have, laughter. We have, friends. You don't want to lose sight of what's working while you are dealing with what's not.
No.
And I think that that is something that Johnny was able to do in a much more sincere way, where he had less to notice, but he did notice.
Yeah. Are we ready for Cringe or Classic?
Let me see if there's anything else.
What else you got for teaching?
That's good.
All right.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
All right. This is the part of the show where we say whether or not something was cringy or a classic.
And that was Derry being Johnny Castle from Dirty Dancing.
That's right.
Which is a cringy quote, but it's quite classic as well.
So the first thing is this cringe or classic, sweetie?
Johnny. Do it for Johnny.
I'm gonna vote cringe.
Okay. I'm gonna vote. Can we have a middle? Can we have cringe?
No, it's not.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
We can have cringe, classic, or cringy classic.
No, that's totally opposite of the whole. You have to decide whether or not it's cringe or classic. You can't decide it's both.
It's cringy classic.
I'm gonna go cringe. I will say one thing that is classic for me, as people know, I do a lot of work with men's organizations and men living and all that. That there's a lot of physical touch with these men.
Yeah, as we discussed.
For me, that's classic.
Yeah.
I have one more cringe or classic, and it's the entire movie. Is it cringe or it's classic?
Okay, what if we break down that some of the lines in the movie, like if we're going to do it for Johnny, it's a little cringy.
Yeah.
And stay gold pony boy, it's beautiful, but it's you can cringe, but some of it's so beautiful, like the letter that Johnny wrote to Pony Boy. I don't know how he wrote it, because he was in traction.
Maybe maybe he had somebody write it down while
Write
he was
it for
talking.
him.
Sure.
Okay, but he writes a really beautiful letter that I don't find to be cringy at all.
No.
I think that the funniest, the part that you and I laughed at so hard is there's this part where when they're hiding in the church and Dally comes to see them and takes them out to eat, and then they're sitting in the car and this kid comes over and says, "Hey, mister, you got 15 cents? You got a dime?"
Yeah.
And Dally's like, "No, get out of here, kid." And then he's like, "Ooh, that was a close one." We're like,
It's a
what
close
was a
call.
close one?
There's no close
It
call.
was children. And by the way, I think we figured out that was Sophia Coppola.
Yes.
Was the kid.
Yeah.
Or maybe not Sophia, but a Coppola.
She was in there. I don't know.
It
which one
looked
she
like
was.
somebody that we knew. But anyway, so that was kind of cringy. But it's Todd, I'm going with classic.
The entire movie?
No,
Oh.
but you're not letting me say cringy classic. So I got to choose one or the other.
But what's a classic?
The movie.
The movie. Okay. I didn't know if you're talking about the entire movie or not. I'm going to go cringe.
Okay.
I was here, and here's my biggest thing is I remember liking this movie a lot when I was a young kid.
Yeah.
And we just watched it on Friday night. And I'm like, this movie's not that good. So one of two things has happened.
Okay.
In my old age, I become jaded and just see the flaws in things.
Okay.
Or I was just naive in thinking this movie was actually good when I was 11 years old.
Well, I think it's in between. I think it's gray, like all things in the world. It was 1983. It's the best they could do with the filming and all the thing. That was the way things were. And I think that these kids were close to our age. I mean, they were like 10 years older than us, but they were fairly close to our age. And we knew the book, and it was exciting, and it was a time. Do you know what I mean? Like it was, so we're never going to be able to recapture that experience.
Sweetie, is this cringe or classic?
Just better wise up, man. Get tough like me, and you don't get hurt.
Cringe or classic? Tough like me, you don't get hurt.
That is cringe.
One thing we did realize that Coppola put in a new score over the top of the movie,
Right, which was brutal.
and he did not do a good job. It was totally distracting.
So what Todd means by that is that the original movie had a certain score, and then with this redone movie with the deleted scenes, they put songs in, and it did not fit the tone. Like, we were like, wait, this song does not fit the tone of what's happening.
This is from a deleted scene, and I think it's Johnny's mom, because I don't think this was in the original. They're in the hospital, and Johnny wants to see his mom, and
No, he doesn't want to see
he doesn't want to see it. His mom wants to see him, and
Correct.
he doesn't want to see her.
That is our mother. Scum. No wonder he hates your guts. You don't even care about him, you damn drunk. You go straight to hell. You go right to hell.
Yeah, that was kind of an
Too
important
bad.
scene. Why did they cut that out? Because I don't think that was in the original.
Well, they had to get it down to, whatever length you said.
And then this is the
Stay gold. Pony boy.
cringe or classic, sweetie.
I mean,
It's a little
that part was cringy. There was two scenes when Ralph Macchio has to pass out.
Yeah.
When Johnny and Ponyboy are visiting him, and the pass out scene is pretty funny because he actually sticks his tongue out like he's.
Yeah, and they understand that he passed out in that moment, and
Then in the next,
it
time
looked
they
like he
see him-
died in that first
I
moment.
know.
And then the second time he dies, and they know he died. Like, how did it look like both times he died?
And he died right when they got there.
Yeah.
He's like, I've been waiting for you guys to die.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's cringy moments, but I would like to be in the middle, but you're making me choose. And the only reason I'm going to say classic is because, Todd and I chose this movie as their second Zen Pop Parenting because it was so influential on our culture.
Yeah.
It was so influential on Gen Xers. And the book has maintained, your kids know what The Outsiders is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a conversation that you can keep having. Like, this connects us. So we ready for quotes?
Yeah, let's
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you. May the force be.
may the force be with you. What do you got for best quotes, sweetie?
Well, I am going to shake it up a little bit and say that there are two different quotes here, and one is from the movie and one is from the book.
Okay.
So the one in the book is, maybe the two different worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset, which is Ponyboy.
That's pretty cool.
Now, there's another one by Cherry that says, it's okay. We aren't in the same class. Just don't forget that some of us watch the same sunset too.
Yeah.
So they're trying to give us the sunset theme, but one's in the book, one's in the, in the movie, but they're just trying to point out that we're all looking at the same sky.
Yeah. I think my best quote is do it for Johnny.
What about, hey, mister, you got a dime?
No, that's up there, but it's not taking the cake.
We got to get even with those socias.
That's right.
Do it for Johnny, man.
Are we going to do Where Are They Now?
Sure, let's do it.
Where are you now? Where are you now that I need you?
And I want you to grade. This is what we're going to do. You're going to give a letter grade on post-Outsider's career.
Okay.
I'm just going to go down these people.
So you're going to say the people, I'm going to tell you their age and their astrological sign.
C. Thomas Howell, what letter grade do you give him?
Now?
Yeah. Just an
C.
overall, I'm giving him a D minus.
Oh boy.
What else did he do other than The Outsiders that was good?
Not a lot.
D minus.
Okay, I'll agree with you. He is now 58 years old. He's a Sagittarius.
Oh, that's interesting. Patrick Swayze, rest in peace.
Yes, he died when he was 57. He is a Leo like me, so he and Patrick and I are together.
I'll give him a B plus.
I'll give Patrick Swayze an A minus.
Okay.
I mean, let's talk about Dirty Dancing, Ghost, Point Break.
Yeah.
Like we love a
some
good
classics.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
Well,
I'm actually not going to give him an A or an A plus. I'll give him an A minus.
I'm going to give him an A because you're saying talk about his career.
Right.
And his career has been stunning and stellar.
Stunning, but his last 5 or 6 movies, if you take Top Gun Maverick out of it, like, I don't think I've seen a single movie he's done since Jerry Maguire, aside from Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. So Todd and I are not Mission Impossible people, but for people who are,
Yeah.
they love them.
Right.
And so and he just does these incredible stunts. And he is 62 years old and he has a cancer.
Rob Lowe.
I love Rob Lowe's career. I think his career is my favorite career.
Really?
Yes, because it's been all over the place.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe had his big, The Outsiders, About Last Night, Class, St. Elmo's Fire, like all the Brat Pack stuff that he got messed up in. And then he got into this big ordeal where he was caught with a girl who was underage. He claims he didn't know she was underage, and there was a videotape, and it was a big deal, and his career kind of went down the tubes. I don't know if you younger people know this. And then he came back in more of a comedian type role, like where he was in Wayne's World and he was in Tommy Boy, and he like tried to do some serious things too. I think he came back as a villain in one movie. Do you remember that movie?
I don't.
But he kind of like rebooted, and then
he did West Wing.
He did West Wing. He did Parks and Rec.
Yep.
I mean, I just have seen. I mean, he held on to his career in such an interesting and different way.
I'm going to give him a B plus.
I'm going to give him an A, and he's 61, and he's a Pisces.
Ralph Macchio.
I love Ralph Macchio.
What are you going to give him?
An A. I like all these guys.
You're such an easy grader.
I am. Ask my college students.
Oh, yeah.
They tell me.
I'm giving Ralph Macchio a C plus.
Okay. How can you do that when we've loved Cobra Kai?
I know, sweetie, but it's been 45 years since this movie. And I'm trying to think of things that I love that Ralph Macchio has done since this movie. And I think My Cousin Vinny.
Awesome.
Karate Kid.
Right.
Forget about all the sequels. They're all bad.
Okay.
Cobra Kai was amazing.
All right.
He was a jazz musician, a guitar player one time called Crossroads, I think.
Oh, never saw it.
Never saw it. Wasn't any good.
Well, what about how he looks so young and he's so cute?
Yeah, but I'm just talking about what did he do over his career?
Okay, you win. I'll give him a B.
Okay. And then last but not least, I think, maybe we'll do
Wait, Ralph Macchio is 63 and he's a Scorpio.
Actually, I think he might be 65 now.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. This might be out. No, it says this is May 2025.
Okay. All right. And he looks like a baby. He's aging very well. Emilio Estevez.
I'm going to give him an A.
Oh my gosh.
A minus?
No.
He's been a director.
What has he directed that you've seen that's good?
That movie with his dad.
What's it
With Martin Sheen. I don't know. He directed the movie with his brother with Charlie Sheen. Remember?
You don't even know the name of it.
Garbage Man? What was it?
Men at Work.
Men at Work. He directed that movie Wisdom with Demi Moore.
Yeah. Just not a lot going on.
Okay.
He did Breakfast Club. He did St. Elmo's, but he didn't do much.
He was in Andrew McCarthy's Brat Pack documentary.
Yikes. Diane Lane.
Wait, he's 62. He's turning 63 this month.
Yeah.
And he's a Taurus like you.
There, that's my guy. Diane Lane.
You're going to give her an A plus.
A plus for sure. Duh.
Todd loves Diane Lane.
I'm a big fan of Diane Lane, especially in that movie with Richard Gere. What's that movie?
Unfaithful.
Forget about
There's
it.
a lot of sex scenes in that movie.
Forget about it.
She has been in a lot, but a lot of things she didn't work very well. Like she could have had a bigger career. I think that it
She was
just
in
sucked.
Six Pack with Kenny Rogers.
She was in Under the Tuscan Sun, which I think is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
She was in The Cotton Club with Richard Gere. She was in another movie with Richard Gere where they were on a beach. I don't remember what it was called. Some people listening might remember. And then what's another Diane Lane movie? Oh, sweetie, we forgot. A Perfect Storm. Her Boston accent.
Yeah, she doesn't do that good a job with the Boston accent.
Well, Diane Lane is 60 years old. She's an Aquarius.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready?
What about Leif Garrett?
I just hope the best for him. Let's just say that
Let's send him good vibes.
He's had some drug issues.
Yeah.
So that was the Where Are They Now? Now we're going to do music game.
All right.
Hey, that song, the one that makes me go all night long.
All right. So this is the part of the show where we name a song that encapsulates the energy, the feeling of this movie.
And remember, you don't want to do a really simple, easy song. Like we wouldn't pick Stevie Wonder's Stay Gold because that's the song from the movie. That's too literal and basic. You want to like grab the vibe and the energy and do something creative. And then you've got to like fight for your song.
Yep. You want to go first or you want me to?
You go first.
I don't think I really need to explain why, but obviously Johnny and Pony are running away from the law.
It's gritty.
It's gritty. It just kind of has that like kind of a black and white, movie feel to it.
You're so right.
I think it was probably written in the early 70s, so it's kind of old like the movie is. And it's The Boss. So that's what I got.
Okay, so I kind of went a different way, and I'm going to have to fight for it a little bit. So I want you to put in Don Henley, Boys of Summer.
Oh, okay. I love that song.
Mm-hmm. This came out in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely captures the feeling of the time.
Down alone. I'm driving by your house.
All right. So go ahead and defend.
So the story in the song is it doesn't match up perfectly. It's definitely not that gritty. It's more of a pop song, but it captures that time period for me, like that when that song was popular, it's like how things felt. And it really was about the story in the song is really about a guy on his own and then feeling a little more cast out and remembering a time. And so yours kind of fits the movie almost like you could put Born to Run in that movie.
Yep.
Mine is more like the vibe of how I feel about The Outsiders. Like Boys of Summer was what I was listening to at the time, and it kind of captured all those guys. And remember, they were all on my walls.
Yeah.
They were all over my walls. I always wonder what my parents thought about all these boys on my walls.
It's a teenage thing. I had pictures of girls up on my walls. It's what we do.
It is. It's so normal and healthy and natural. It's less about them being mad, but I wonder if they were ever like, okay, because like they were everywhere. I mean, and it wasn't just from The Outsiders. It was like these guys kept doing movies.
Are we ready for the last category?
Yep, trivia, baby.
All right. I don't have much trivia.
Okay.
But that's all right. We're an hour and 10 minutes in anyways. And these are really easy. At least some of them are. Which character has a deep love for cars and works on them in the film?
Two-Bit. Steve. No. Soda Pop.
Very good.
He worked at the gas station.
I think he works with Steve, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Tom
I think
Cruise's
Steve
character?
worked there too, yeah.
What item does Johnny buy for? So don't answer right away because let the listener. Because we just saw. What item does Johnny buy for Pony that signifies his care and the bond between them?
I know, so sweet.
What does he do, sweetie? Go ahead and say it.
He buys him the book Gone with the Wind.
And they read it together to pass time.
Yeah.
What actor played the role of Bob Sheldon?
That was our buddy Leif Garrett.
That's right. I don't like this question, but I'll ask you. What happens to Johnny's parents in this story? Like, what's their deal? They're just totally neglectful. It's not a very
Is
good...
that a book question or a movie question? Because we don't know from the movie.
I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows? What year was the book The Outsiders first published?
Oh, great question. It 72? I don't know.
I believe it says 1967.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't know what to play off for this podcast.
You need to play a Leif Garrett song.
Oh boy.
Let me just say a few things about him as we're leaving. Number one, he was a big star, and Todd and I looked up all of his songs, and he really didn't have any of his own. He just sang other people's songs. If you ever get the chance to listen to the Armchair Expert podcast, the original podcast with Jason Bateman, which was like from 10 years ago or whenever Armchair Expert started, Jason Bateman tells a great story about his weekend with Leif Garrett, because Leif Garrett was dating his sister, Justine Bateman, and it's a hilarious episode. To Todd's point, Leif Garrett did not have it easy. He
made a lot of his own trouble.
He did, and he ended up he had a DUI, and he hurt a friend who ended up paralyzed, and he was in celebrity rehab, and he just had one of those stories. So we're going to end with his song In Happier Days.
This is called I Was Made for Dancing.
He was. Thanks for listening to The Outsiders, everybody.
If anybody has any suggestions on if you want us to do a movie or a TV show, just let us know. But we'll see you next Tuesday. Keep trucking.